Hey Robin, thanks for getting this in. Here's your submission. Your contact sheets, the last of your contact sheets, your equipment shots, your two finals, and there we go. Okay, so there's some good things going on here with light, and yeah, for the first time that you're using your lights, this really is pretty good effort. Okay, just about your submission, really quickly, I need you to. This is important, so listen up. Always label the images in your contact sheet with your exposure settings, your ISO, your f-stop, and your shutter speed, and if you can fit it in there, the millimeter length lens that you're using for each shot. And don't tell me like I'm using this zoom lens. I want to know exactly the focal length that you're using. And then also your equipment shots need to be enlarged. I can barely see anything in here. I can barely make it out even when I blow it up full screen. It's hard for me to tell what's going on. So make sure that those are enlarged views. I know it makes for a rather lengthy PDF, but that's fine. And then lastly, this is really small. Why didn't you fill the screen with this? I'm just curious. There's another student in another class that is doing this as well, and I mean, why don't you just give us a gigantic view, full page view, please? That's what we want. So give us the full page view. This is pretty small. It's not significantly bigger than your contact sheet images. Okay, and then so lastly, so this assignment wanted you to use two different lighting setups, two distinctly different lighting setups to give two very different messages about your subject. And your lighting is essentially the same for both of these images. Your key light is coming from camera left. And I don't know what's going on in camera right. I don't know if it's passive fill or active fill, but it's your fill light. And that's the same thing that's going on in this image. The key light is coming from camera left, and our fill light is coming from camera right. So she's changed poses, and that changes the mood, but it's not the lighting that's doing the job for us. We want the lighting to do the job. And I would say that you have significant shifts in mood based on your lighting. So here is probably where you pulled your first final image from in this section here. And then these, though they're, a little overexposed, it's a little too bright, the mood is very different. And the lighting is coming from a different direction. So that's the kind of difference we would have wanted to see in this assignment between your two shots that you chose for a final, if that makes any sense. And so then some other technical advice. Because we're all new here, right? And so I'm going to give you some photographer's tips. Pull your subject way far away from the backdrop. This does a lot of things to help you out. Assuming that you're using a wide open aperture, and if you're using continuous lights, you probably are because they're not really that bright. It puts the backdrop out of your depth of field, so it gives us that nice out of focus feeling. It's called bokeh, I think, amongst Schwenke photographers. I just call it out of depth of field, but we call it bokeh. That when the background gets really abstracted and it's just really lovely. So if you have a good distance between your subject and your background, that's an effect that you can easily get. And I can tell not much by your tiny itty bitty equipment shots, but I can see that that's a really big backdrop, and so you can pull your subject 5 to 10 feet off of it and get that out of your depth of field, and then, just fuzz it out so it'll be way less distracting, because it's arguably distracting here. We can see the detail of the tie-dye print on the backdrop, and it's just distracting, but you can imagine if that was really fuzzy and out of focus, it would be lovely, right? So there's a big photographer's tip for you. And then here, it's just like, we can see the wrinkles and stuff, it just becomes really unattractive, the backdrop does. And she's kind of getting buried in it, and it just feels like a painting cloth. And I don't mean to be insulting, but I'm just trying to help you out here with your technique. I really like paper backdrops, frankly. I think they're cleaner, they're neater, there's no wrinkles, there's no lint, and they're cheap. So, and there's no care involved in it. Once it gets too wrinkly or torn, I just cut off the bottom part, give it to my kid to draw on, and I pull out fresh paper. Voila, it's wonderful. So that's not even wasteful, So that's my feedback. I think that when I'm looking at your images, many of your compositions are very nice. These close-ups that you have down here, these are really nice. These are a little weird when she's cut off kind of strangely. These close-ups, your top contact sheet here, I would say all of these, all these rows are nice. You're nice and close up in there. She's not being cut off in any strange way. There's not too much abstract or negative space around her. They all look pretty good. In these, it's you're looking down on her, and there's this psychological effect as a viewer that we have when we're looking down on our subject. We literally feel like we are overpowering them, and that's maybe not appropriate for a portrait. Maybe looking up on them just a slightly is a little bit more appropriate, because psychologically, if you're looking up to somebody, they're sort of in power, and they're certainly not diminutive, and we don't want anyone to feel diminutive in their portraits. So that's my feedback. Always give me your technical information on your contact sheets, your exposure settings. Always give me enlarged views of all your equipment shots, but thank you for giving me several different equipment shots, though they're just too small for me to see. But I do appreciate that you did take an equipment shot every time you change the lighting. Thank you for that. Just give me large views, and then make sure that these are full screen. We know when they're filling up the whole page, the finals, when you put them together. Okay, and then like I said, I can see that you had at least 2 different types of lighting in your contact sheets, but for your finals, you ended up choosing 2 images that are using the same lighting. So just watch that sort of stuff. Okay, so but again, Robin, really good start with your studio lights. Thank you so much.